Here's where I'd make an Ace Attorney joke, but I've never played any of those games, so I'm just going to use this objection thing and call it a day. Greetings from the far side of the galaxy, I'm Fuuri, your host with the most, here to bring you a story about Ghost. Before we begin, Judgeman accuses you of not being subscribed to the channel, but he might forgive you if you fix that mistake. That being said, let's dive right on into Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 164, Tokyo Colony Number 1, Part 4. The chapter begins with a bang, or a whoosh, since that's what domains tend to sound like as Higuruma whips out his domain expansion. Deadly sentencing. Let's note that the kanji used for the attack refers to the practice of the emperor allowing someone to commit honorable suicide rather than be executed. Yuji goes to attack him before his technique can be activated, but it turns out that Higuruma also has a limitless? What? Not really. It's just that inside his domain, no one can use violence, essentially producing the same effect as Limitless for everyone inside. Although, Higuruma confirms you can still talk mad shit if you feel like it. Quick little side note, I love what Akutami-sensei is doing with Higuruma's expressions. That quirk of looking up from the top of his eyes does wonders to add this nice creepiness to everything Higuruma does. I'll add more to that at the end of the video. For now, I have to get back to the chapter. That weird Shikigami Higuruma uses is called Judgeman, a pretty lame name for a pretty cool Shikigami. Its appearance appears to be based off of the typical depiction of justice, eyes stitched shut because justice is blind and scales referencing balanced judgment. Not a complicated design by any means, it mostly works by creep factor. It's good, but it's not my favorite design. Seems like an easy cosplay though. I'm skipping ahead a bit, but I think it'd be best to explain how Judgeman does his judge thing first. The technique works by bringing up one of your past crimes, and Higuruma gets one piece of evidence for said crime. The defendant, Yuji in this instance, is given three options: silence, confession, or denial. You have to make the right choice to get Judgeman to declare you innocent. While this domain may seem weird at first, we get a flashback to Yuji talking to Tengen and we learn that it's actually a very retro style. He explains that traditionally, domains were valued for their sure hit properties rather than sure kill. They only became rare because modern sorcerers focused on sure hit and sure kill, which is much harder. This means that Higuruma's classic style domain needs its rules to be explained in order to enforce its power on someone. Got that? No? Too bad, I'm moving on, just pause the video or something. Back in the manga, Yuji is accused of going into a pachinko parlor. Pachinko is a kind of Japanese gambling, kind of like pinball but more random. Something we, the audience, know is true, but Yuji would really rather not admit guilt. After a bit of thinky-thonking, he decides to obfuscate the facts. He says that he was only going inside to use the bathroom. Higuruma counters this by opening the evidence, revealing a photo of Yuji at an exchange shop. You see, in Japan, gambling for cash is illegal, but gambling for items which can be exchanged at a separate shop is perfectly kosher. Given that Yuji himself admits to entering the parlor and he can be seen at an exchanger, it's only reasonable to presume that he was gambling. Although the actual crime he's convicted of is breaking and entering since the place rejects minors. Higuruma slams his gavel down and declares sentencing, and Judgeman, still a dumb name, finds Yuji guilty and declares confiscation. And bam, the world's back to normal. Yuji doesn't notice any physical changes, but he doesn't have time to dwell on that as Higuruma attacks. He throws the hammer to bop Yuji in the face, conjures it back in his hand to make it grow larger before slamming Yuji into the seats. Let's note that the hammer can grow and change in size, but that Higuruma also slams it down when activating his technique. What's more important than those details is Yuji realizing he can't use cursed energy. That is the effect of confiscation. At first I thought Higuruma was pretty lucky he wasn't fighting Maki because I don't think he'd fare too well against the Doomslayer. But then I realized that Judgeman probably has other penalties. Higuruma did first use Judgeman on a bunch of normal people, so confiscation wouldn't really be a penalty for them. It doesn't seem like a personalized penalty either. If it was, it wouldn't have taken Yuji's cursed energy when he can fight without it. Higuruma remarks that Yuji's pretty durable, and yeah, that's what Yuji does. And there we get the end of the chapter, and honestly, I'm totally vibing with all of this. For me, the best part was what we learned about domains. It means we're going to see a lot more with a lot more variety, and I love that. Higuruma's in particular kinda reminds me of Hakuware from Hunter x Hunter. Although I do wonder how long Yuji will be locked out of using cursed energy. Will it be a few minutes or a couple days? Will it go away at all? Does he need to just beat up Higuruma or kill him? I'm kinda hoping it won't go away unless Higuruma dies or something. One of the major themes and dilemmas of this arc is the moral boundary on what the protagonist can and cannot do. Granted, this is assuming Yuji wins this fight, which he probably will since he doesn't rely on cursed energy too heavily. There's still the factor of Amai who's waiting outside. He could come rushing in to help stop Higuruma. And I love what Akutame-sensei is doing with Higuruma. He seems like an evil Nanami, but beyond that, he's just cool. Like I mentioned before, his mannerisms really make him come to life as his own unique character. All this effort Akutame-sensei put into him, like an entire chapter for a backstory, kinda makes me think he won't just be a one-and-done villain. I know a lot of people are kinda hoping he joins up with Yuji, but I really vibe with his villainous Higuruma. I hope he gets beaten here and then joins Kenjaku or something. That'd be cool to see later down the line. For now, I give this chapter a 9 out of 10. We learned new stuff about domains, gotta see more of Higuruma, and the battle's only just begun. Oh, and did you like and subscribe? The video's almost over and Judgman's right behind you. As always, this is your host Fuuri signing out.